Hello everyone. Welcome to this Learning Sound and Synthesis Spotlight Series interview. I'm here today with the wonderful Rebecca. Trees Can Talk. I'm so excited for our conversation. We're going to be talking a lot about learning synthesis and clarifying your workflow as an electronic musician, and generally what has kind of helped Rebecca do that, find a little bit more connection to her music, a little more clarity in her creative process. So I think this is a conversation that a lot of folks will find, just relevant and insightful. If you're here tuning in live, go ahead and say hello. It's always nice to see you. And let's get started. So Rebecca, can I pass over to you just to share a little bit about who you are and maybe what kind of music you like to make?
Yeah, sure. Hello. Okay, so I've been doing music since I was 8, I guess, and I was kind of taught from like a classical perspective, piano, violin, and then loads of random trombone, cornet.
Oh, cool.
I wasn't allowed the trumpet, but yeah, I played the trombone and the cornet for a bit, and then I found the oboe. So I sort of I think I got to like grade 5 on the oboe, but then I discovered skateboarding and punk music, so I went off in a very different direction and played in punk bands and played the drums and the bass.
Awesome.
And then I don't know, about 15 years ago I got ill, and sort of didn't listen to any music because sound sensitivity was part of my illness. And then a friend introduced me to Marconi Union, and they're like a live ambient act, and I was just blown away by them and listened to them obsessively. And then I heard of like music like on Ultime Records, that kind of glitch ambient stuff. And I kind of was like obsessed with how do I make this sound, and I knew nothing about synthesis or DJing or anything because I came from a classical and guitar band background.
Right.
So I guess I spent about 8 years trying to reinvent the wheel with no idea of what I was doing. How do you get these electronic sounds? Trying to make them by scratch, with my hands, like programming in MIDI notes into the DAW, and why doesn't it sound like what I want it to? And I was able to make music, which I was quite proud of, but it was never that kind of organic feel that you get in electronic synthesized music. So that's where I eventually found you.
Oh, great.
So that's where I kind of moved into, okay, you really need to learn about what synthesis is, because I'm not happy with where I'm going, kind of thing.
Right. So, I'm curious what that entry point was like. You were basically just at a point where you're like, I have these ideas. There's this kind of music I want to make. I'm after a certain kind of sound, right?
Yeah.
How did you get started? Did you begin in a computer or did you have hardware? Like what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so I think I first ever played with Cubase, I think, about 25 years ago, and it was a very different thing then.
Right.
But then I also played with, I think it was a PlayStation electronic thing back in the 90s, and Fruity Loops and all those things. But yeah, then I was looking at some artists who were doing live looping, and that got me into Ableton Live. So that's when I really started to figure things out a bit more. So yeah, I got to know how to use the DAW very well, but still couldn't really do what I wanted to do. I couldn't make those like organic moving textures and stuff.
Gotcha. So then if you came into learning sound and synthesis, so you were probably playing around in VCV Rack, is that correct?
So yeah, I did try VCV, and I was like, what is this craziness? I couldn't even plug it in. I think it's a common story,
Totally.
I don't even know how to plug it in. How do I make a noise?
Yep.
How do I even turn the thing on, right?
Yep.
So I did spend some time mucking around in it, and I found it so unintuitive, completely against anything I'd ever been taught. Like, music is on a timeline and it runs along, and you can edit it and you can chop it up, and I was okay with that kind of stuff. And I was playing along with music and I was editing MIDI, but to see this display of things all happening at once which is really bizarre because that's how my brain works, right?
Yeah.
My brain is everything happening at once. And one of my confusions or frustrations was like, I'm trying to compose 20 tracks all at the same time.
Right.
So that's another thing that your course really helped me with. And I started to realize where I was like missing stuff. Like I was very chaotic, and then chaotic looking things put me off.
Right.
So yeah, it was your course that really got me thinking right down to the basics that I'd missed. You know, I'd missed out all the basics and just jumped straight into writing an album. You know, I had all the ideas and no gear. And no, like, yeah, I had ideas but no understanding really of what I was doing.
Yeah. Honestly, that is a familiar story, both in terms of my own experience and so many of the students that I've worked with. And this feeling of looking at something for the first time, like VCV rack, and just being like, what, or any modular system or any, complex instrument like this, and just being like, what am I even looking at? Like, how in the world do I wrap my head around it? I understand that feeling of like brain overload. We were just like, oh my God, everything scrambles and like your brain goes blank. At least that's how it feels for me. So I know this is a common feeling. And actually, before we get into this, there was someone in the chat. I just want to make sure I don't miss this question. Drum Machinist asked, what was the label? You mentioned like a glitch ambient label or something.
Oh yeah, Ultime. They're French
okay.
label.
Okay, great. So hopefully you caught that. Awesome. So yeah, I know that this is something that a lot of people experience. So I'd love to hear from you. What has been helpful, because we're always still learning. We always have room to grow, but you've come a really long way from opening up VCV rack and just being like, like, where do I even? So can you help us kind of pull the curtain back a little, at least for you, what helped you sort of organize things and get that clarity?
Yeah, so I think, as I said, I was working like on 20 ideas at once, trying to write 20 tracks at once. Like my brain is kind of a little bit hyper like that. And I knew I needed to simplify things, but I didn't know what needed simplifying. Like, because the music I make is quite chaotic, I thought that it had to be chaotic in the process. So then once I got into your course, and I was like, whoa, these are so simple, beyond any kind of simplification I could have imagined. And I think that's what was really helpful. Oh, right. So a VCO does this, and this is a wave table, and then a filter does this. And I think learning how important filters were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I've discovered a filter. You know, if I'd come from a different background, like a DJ background, I'd already have known this stuff.
Sure.
So I think learning the very, very basics. I was way beyond the basics, right? I'm writing music, I'm composing music, I'm doing all this stuff without knowing what a filter was.
Yeah.
So that really changed how I thought about music and my music.
Yeah. Yeah. I can 100% relate to that feeling too. And so many people are beyond the basics, like truly, like you're making incredible music already. And, I remember so I don't want to make this about me, but when I got started, I really struggled with the synthesis side. And I was way more advanced in a lot of the other areas, but I could not, like, every time I sat down to work with the synthesizer, there was always this like mental block. It sounds maybe a little bit familiar to you.
Yes.
So finally, I said, okay, I'm going back. I'm going to pretend I know nothing. I'm going to take beginner's mind, which we talk a lot about in learning sound and synthesis, blank slate, beginner's mind, and let's just see what I don't know. And it turns out it's a lot more than I thought.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
These building blocks are so fun, because then you're like, wow, now filters, like, there's so much more than just a filter is a low pass filter and it does one thing. It's like there's a universe of filters if you take the time to get into it.
And just understanding how and why it works kind of opened up like all the other synthesizers, the VST synthesizers that I try to use, like Pigments is my favorite one from Arturia. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was really just using presets, I think. And there's nothing wrong with using presets. I still do that. I don't want to like damn the preset. But suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, this preset, it needs to sound a bit more like this. And I knew what to do.
Yes.
So in the past, I was just like, oh, I don't like this preset. So I'd try and find another one. But
Yeah.
now I'd be like, oh, this is kind of right. And now I know what to do to adjust it to get it just right. That was really good. When I was like, oh my gosh, I know what to do now. Whereas
Yeah.
before, it's a lot of sort of trial and error and throwing stuff out of the window, and that doesn't work. Oh, I'll try this, and you'll find something eventually that works, rather than going, okay, what do I need to do to this to get it to do what I want it to do, you know?
Exactly. Oh, I love that. That's so exciting to hear. Okay, so simplicity, going back to the basics, awesome. Was there anything else that you found really helpful, or was that kind of the main thing?
I think understanding modulation and
Mm,
and cross modulation was
okay,
huge. Yeah, like
great.
understanding how one aspect, because when you sort of look at a VCV rack patch or a modular rack or whatever, it's like, what the heck is going on? And then you realize it's all controlling it, and it's like a network of
Yeah,
things that all control each other. I absolutely loved that. And then that's when the chaos in my brain that was like blocking me then sort of opened up, and the two chaoses started to sync, right? So I was a chaotic thing over here, and BCV Rack's a chaotic thing over there that I couldn't connect. And then suddenly I realized, oh, they're all like controlling each other and linked and syncing, and my brain synced. And yeah, that was
beautiful.
very helpful.
Great. So yeah, it not just necessarily what is modulation and the fact that it exists, but really getting specific about how is this impacting this?
Mm-hmm.
How is this impacting this? Yeah, so that you can kind of understand the whole ecosystem that you're working with.
Yeah, and then by doing that, I was actually able to simplify the things that were too chaotic. Like my percussion is, especially in the past, was very chaotic because I want it to be chaotic. So I think it has to be chaotic. But actually, the basics of that percussion is quite simple. And it's the modulation that you put on the percussion that is what gives it its textures and its differences. Whereas I was trying to make all those differences by hand and like a different instrument and a different sound file. And I think I'd learned, like back in the day, like I'd heard the DJs and stuff that I liked through my many different phases were all chopping their stuff up by hand. It's like an urban legend. It is not true, right? Yeah, maybe some of them do, but a lot of them are modulating stuff. They might chop it up by hand afterwards.
Sure.
But I really think one of my stuck points was that I thought everything had to be chopped up by hand. And
Every little sound.
yeah, and like I would be chopping up a tiny wav and then editing it, and my brain is not the best at functioning at the best of times, but I was overloading myself so much.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I'm like, oh, you mean you just hook it up to this bit here and then modulate this bit and it does it all for you? Yay!
Yeah. Oh my God, that must have been such an incredible moment in your workflow if you were doing every little sound like that. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
you can work in whatever way you want, but I can
Yeah.
understand how liberating and fun that must have been. There's a bunch of people in the chat. I just need to see a bunch of questions coming in because I mentioned we've been talking about the course that you're in, that my course. So let me just put a link up on the screen for you all, because for the folks who are asking, stay tuned right here. I think I can put this up on the screen. Yeah, bottom left corner, there should be a link on the screen right now, soundandsynthesis.com. If you go there, that will give you info about the course that we're talking about, which is what Rebecca has been enrolled in. Right now, it's just going to put you on a waitlist page, but I strongly recommend that you put your email in to get info, because the spring cohort is actually opening up in about a week. So really soon. So drop your email in there and then you'll get a ton of info, and send me a DM if you want to talk to me more about what's in the class and all that. And I'm happy to talk more. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt our flow.
That's
I just
all
saw
right.
like 4 or 5 people like, what are you talking about? Great. So now you have that info. Let's see. So, okay, breaking things down into simple building blocks. Really understanding modulation. Yeah, that's so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything else? I mean, it's great if those are the two. I just want to make sure if you did have anything else.
I think they were the main ones. And I do want to say that there's nothing wrong with chopping sound
Oh,
up,
yeah.
but I found it incredibly cognitively taxing, and
Yeah.
I just needed a different way to work. I really love chopping sound up. You'll hear a lot of it in my work. I do like that, but it is tiring for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's just nice to have another workflow too that can
mm-hmm,
be more in real time. I think that's something I love about modular is how real time it can all be.
mm-hmm.
You know, you make a change, you hear the change, you know, you start a sequence, you hear a whole thing happening in front of you, as opposed to if you're exclusively working with samples, you've got to kind of assemble everything and
Yeah, and it's more like it's almost like you have to create it first and then listen back.
right,
Whereas modular is a process that you're involved with all
right.
the time. Like you're physically involved with it. It's there's less of a disconnect, I think, and it's more like playing a traditional instrument, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I relate totally. So we've been talking about your music. Is it okay if I give people a link to your Bandcamp so they can check out your music maybe?
yeah,
Do
sure,
you want
yeah.
to share anything about what's up on your Bandcamp right now? I could give the link to your most recent album maybe.
Yes, so I just actually released an album, my second album last week on the 6th, I think. Yeah, 6 days ago. So that album was like an outpouring of creativity that came from your course. And it was like suddenly my brain just vomited all this stuff. And it doesn't have much modular in, but the fact that it just opened up my brain to a load of stuff that suddenly came out that I wasn't expecting either. I wasn't even expecting to make this album. So that was really fun. And yeah, so that's The Logic of Ruin. And then the other album is The Shape of Anomaly, which I started about a year ago and released it in June of last year. And that was before I had done the course and before I understood as much as I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So the link is on the screen, and if it's too small for you to read, you just go to treescantalk.bandcamp.com and then you'll be able to find it. Trees Can Talk. I love that name, by the way, at .bandcamp.com. Yep.
So the Trees Can Talk name actually sort of ties into modular synthesis a bit, because it's about how the mycelium connects between all the trees, and that's how the trees communicate with each other.
Yeah.
So that concept in itself was something that fascinated me before I even really discovered modular. And then modular was like, oh my gosh, this stuff links in with this name that I've given myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, let me see here. I'm just going to scroll through the chat and see if there's any questions here. There are. Sorry, it's really hard for me to read people's usernames on the fly. Prompt Hustler. So sorry I'm late. Is there a list of everything covered? I already did the intro to VCV Rack. Oh, you're asking about my class. Yes. So anyone who wants to know, okay. Anyone who wants to know information about my class, Learning Sound and Synthesis, I'm going to do two things. One is I'm going to put the link up here again, soundandsynthesis.com. Go there and get yourself signed up for the waitlist. That will give you a lot more info, okay? When it's available, it will come to you by email. The second thing is if you just want to talk now, send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you are, and we'll talk. And I'll give you a rundown of everything that's in the class. But in a nutshell, you know, it's a class for anyone who wants to learn synthesis, sound design, and electronic music using synthesizers. You don't need to be heavy into modular. You can use them if you want, of course. I teach everything using a virtual program called VCV Rack, so that because it's free, so you don't need gear, but tons of students use other things. Like you could have a Moog semi-modular that you love, or you could be, you know, like Rebecca, where you use plugins and VSTs in Ableton or different things like that. So it's really up to you. You're going to learn all about the history of synthesis. You're going to learn all about how sound and hearing works, like human hearing perception, which is really fascinating. You're going to learn all about all of the most important synthesis building blocks, like Rebecca mentioned, way simplified, breaking them down into their individual pieces, so that you can build your own patches from scratch. If you want to make ambient music or chaotic music or cinematic music or techno, it's not a genre specific class. It's more about giving you all of the tools so that you can then unlock your creativity and make the kind of music you want to make. And we do go way beyond the basics. Like we start with the fundamentals, but we go into pretty advanced techniques. The number one thing I hear people say is like, oh, I had no idea how big this class was going to be. There's so much information here. And so once you enroll, you can go at your own pace and you have lifetime access. So you don't have to worry about like finishing it all in a month. There's no stress. There's no urgency. Take your time. Some students are in like year 2 or 3, so you just take your time, relax, and enjoy the process. So yeah, if you have other questions, let me know. I hope that helps to clarify for the people who are asking. And let's get back to you. Sorry again for that little diversion there. So yeah, your album, I highly recommend people go check out Rebecca's album. It's beautiful. Definitely worth, both of them, definitely worth listening to. What are you working on now? Do you have anything kind of percolating in your creative world?
Yeah, so when I wrote my second album, I wasn't quite ready to work in modular, I don't think, although I used what I'd learned. So now I think I'm taking some time out from writing to just playing, and I just had to get all this stuff out before, but now I'm just really playing in VCV Rack. Cool. Trying to sort of change my musical mindset, I think, to something more of like play and I don't know, learning how to use it like an instrument, I think.
Yeah.
And then see where that takes me. If I do that for 6 months, what sort of thing am I going to be? What my third album will probably be something completely different, and I'm like all for that. I want my work to be like progressive, like every time it shows a progression. I'm not interested in just doing the same old thing.
I love the emphasis of play. I think
Mm-hmm.
great. I mean, it's so fun. It can be so fun, right?
Yeah.
I think that's like a beautiful mindset to come in. It's like you don't have to necessarily know what you're doing from the beginning. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just play, listen, learn.
Mm-hmm. And I think knowing what you're doing can be very destructive almost, because you think you know things and you don't, and then because no one knows everything, right? So I kind of thought, well, I've got grade 5 in music. I know about music, but it's completely different, right? It's nothing to do with how you read music or what you were taught about scales and arpeggios. I mean, arpeggios are kind of handy, but it's such a different thing. And play is so important. And I get very stuck down in perfectionism and that kind of thing, which is hard when your brain is going off a million miles an hour. So yeah, slowing down even more and playing, really.
Yeah, I love that so much. So I think the big themes for people who are just joining, the big themes from this that I'm taking away are simplify, back to basics, slow down, also so valuable. Play, I love that one. And then really understand, you said really understand modulation, like really get into it. I like to think of modulation and control voltage as like the breath in your instrument. Mm-hmm. It's the stuff that gives it life. Whether it's hands-on modulation this way or through voltage and signals. Did I forget something, or were those all the items? See, I told you I always forget something.
I don't know. I'm sure my memory's worse than yours.
It's a pretty good recap.
Yeah. You're doing pretty good to keep on track with me, to be honest. I'm like, oh my God, I'm speaking too fast.
No, you're great. You're wonderful. So I like to Oh, people are really, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, Rebecca, but I want you to know that a couple of people have put your album on in the background and they are saying it is amazing. Holy crap, it's
Aw,
stunning, all these things. Yeah,
thank you.
I told you, it's beautiful. So yeah, enjoy.
Aw, thanks.
So the way I love to wrap up these interviews is just, first of all, if there's anything else you want to say, um, at all, something you're working on or something you want to share. Um, but also, I'm always curious to ask people, like, if you could maybe offer a little bit of advice to either someone listening in the chat who might be feeling a little bit uncertain or a little bit kind of like, I don't know if I can do this. Like maybe it's every time I look at a synth, my brain goes blank and scrambles. Like, what do I do? What would you offer them? Any little bit of support or advice?
Well, I think we've already said it is play,
Yeah, play.
and removing that pressure from yourself, especially if you do have a music, like a more traditional music background. The two are completely different, right? And they're going, like, as far as I can see, they hinder each other. They really do. And you have to kind of, I don't know, figure out a way to work those two together and not, I don't know, use your prior knowledge actually could get in your way, I really think.
Right.
Yeah, it's like when I failed art A level and I told my prospective art teacher, oh, I failed art A level, is that going to be a problem? And they said, no, not at all, we want you to know nothing. So,
I love
it's fine.
Okay, I just want to say what you just said, it's actually really deep because there are so many people who say, I can't do synthesis because I have no musical background. I hear this. If I had a nickel for every time I hear this, my God, all the time I hear it. I'm not a real musician, so I don't think I'm ready to jump in, or I'm not a real composer, or I don't have any musical training. But what Rebecca just said is actually, in some circumstances, you're better off not knowing anything because then you come into it, you can just learn. So please, if you fall into that category of like, oh, I'm not ready, I don't have training, I'm not a real musician, just hear this and know that everyone starts somewhere. And sometimes it's easier to start from a blank slate.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Anything else you want to share or say before we wrap up today?
I think that's it. It's been really great chatting with you, and hopefully someone has got something good out of this.
For sure. Absolutely. Yes. Shape Without Form says this is beyond modular synthesis workshop. It's also part of a creative community. Is that right? Yes, that is correct. Without Form. Yeah. Jason Carter says this was inspirational. So thank you. So there you go, Rebecca. There you go.
Thank you.
Sandy Van Pennyworth, gutted I joined this talk late. It's been really cool hearing the conversation. Okay, well, for anyone who joined late, give me a few minutes and I'll get the replay posted, and then you can tune into the whole thing at the beginning all the way through, okay? And once again, anyone who is interested in working with me and taking my class and joining the amazing community of creative people that Rebecca is part of and many, many others, it's a global community of people who are passionate about music and sound. It's just such an amazing place to find collaborators, to get feedback, to get encouragement on those days where you're just like not feeling it, because we all have them. This is the link you want to go to, soundandsynthesis.com. Trying to like frame it. And in a week, enrollment will open up. And again, you have lifetime access. You can go at your own pace. You can make your own journey. There's no rush to finish it. So this is perfect for complete beginners. It's also really great for people who are more advanced, who are just wanting to like have fluency and clarity in your workflow and a community to learn with. Okay. So go there, get yourself signed up to the wait list, and send me a DM if you want to talk more. Rebecca, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your music. Keep making music, keep playing, keep exploring all the things. I'm really excited to hear your next album. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah. And while you're over there on her Bandcamp, click subscribe, everybody. Click subscribe. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you. See you all.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.